Welcome to the show of Tell Us Like It Is, where we chat with personalities, try and discover the person behind the personalities, and very importantly, discover how they chase happiness and actually acquire happiness. Today is no exception. You know, it is said that opportunities in life either shrink or expand based on the courage that you show toward these opportunities. Today, I have with me a gentleman who aggressively chases opportunities through his courage, through his conviction, and through the fact that he is not afraid to make the hard decisions. Welcome to Tell Us Like It Is, and please say hello to my dear friend,
Hi.
Tarsame Mittal.
Tarsame.
I got it right?
Yes, you got it perfect.
There's a little joke about how people pronounce your name. There is absolutely no doubt about what you've achieved in life and your journey up until this date, which we really want to talk about today, Tarsame. I'm going to call you TM actually. I'm very comfortable calling you TM. So let me start with what you're doing today. You've really worked your way into a wonderful position today. You have an agency of your own. You manage 20 plus of the finest artists in the country. You have a convention all about music and a host of other objectives. The Bollywood music project, for instance. Tell us a little bit about all the stuff you do in today's world.
Thanks, Brian, for a lovely introduction. You're as smart as you look.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, I have kind of, while doing a lot of things in the business, in life, I realized a few years back that music is the best thing I know. And I realized that I am more passionate about music than anything else. And especially when it comes to music, management was my forte. I was doing on and off management, did it, then did something else. And there was a time in life where I had to choose that this is what I want to do, professionally in life. So I chose management, and I realized that India needs good managers, especially our music industry. We are far behind the international standard. And even now, maybe 10% have been achieved, 90% is still to go. So we started with our management agency 7 years back when I shifted to Mumbai finally and focused on that. Once the agency, the management thing did decently well, I bifurcated the management from booking agency. So when you represent the artists, you represent them with a different set of mind. When you represent the clients, you represent them with a different set of minds. By clients, I mean people who buy talents for their events. And then I tried to think that what else can we do around music. So first Bollywood music project came. That was a common idea. So I am a very smart guy in getting inspired from good people. So I keep on looking at who's doing what, and whenever somebody does something good, I don't mind getting inspired from them. So one of that guys is Vijay Nair, for sure. And I saw NH7, and I was seeing Sunburn and so many festivals around the country happening. At the same time, there were so many festivals happening all over the world, and every business or a project comes from somewhere. You don't know how it comes. So I thought that Bollywood is the most sold and loved music in the country by far.
Absolutely.
Whether we love it or hate it, that's true. Okay. And I am from Haryana, brought up in Assam, and our entire childhood has been Bollywood music. But why don't we have a Bollywood music festival? What's wrong if we have an independent music festival, if we have a electronic music festival, if we have a festival for DJs? Why don't we have a Bollywood music festival? Then we realize that it's too costly, it's too much of money, and I dropped the idea. I spoke it to a few people, and then finally I dropped the idea. From somewhere Deepak Chaudhary emerged and he said, listen, we want to do a Bollywood music festival. I said, I had the same idea, I'm more than happy to do it. So we did Bollywood music festival. Then after a point I felt saturated in life. That's a genuine problem in me. That if I do something for more than a couple of years, I don't feel interested towards it. I keep trying my level best, but there's nothing which drives me toward that thing. and that success of that particular thing starts bothering me as a person, that you don't really deserve this. This is all luck. This is all so easy. You are waking up aram se, everything is happening. This is not something which is good. So that creates that kind of boredom or that irritation in mind to do something new. So I was trying to learn more about the music industry, because honestly, when we started working, I did not know what publishing mean. I did not know what recording rights mean or mechanical rights mean. We only knew that management means helping an artist secure more business in live events, make them earn money and get a cut out of it. That's what we thought management was. Right. And let me be very honest about this, because I can today say that I knew all these things. I didn't know any of these things. When I started working, then I realized, there is more to music management. There is PR, there is digital, there is social media, there is finance, there is being a personal friend. You have to be a travel agent. You have to know everything about the business. So I started attending conferences in different parts of the world. And then I realized, India is one of the biggest countries in the world, and the music industry is booming. And why don't we have our own conference? What's wrong? India is on the map of every other company. So that's where the All About Music conference idea came in. And again, I always try to see a consumer perspective about my events or about anything I do. So when we did All About Music, I always think that why should somebody come? And if you try to get those answers genuinely, you'll be able to curate it in a better way. And that's how we did the conference. So that boredom doesn't end here. Okay, the boredom continues. You do something, it goes well, you do something else, then it goes well, or it doesn't go well, but you still do something else. So then I started Music Plus, which is on the lines of Billboard. I don't mind saying the names because that's what it is. There is no authentic publication which is regarded as the place or point to go for music industry in India yet. There are a lot of other publications or other platforms, but still nobody is the platform for music industry. So we realized that we have an opportunity of creating that platform, because when we got into the music industry, all of us, when you got into the event industry, you would have realized that there is no formal education system.
True.
Still, do we have a music management course?
No.
We don't. How does one become a good manager? Or how does the youngsters who are now coming becomes who wants to get hired working for a streaming company or a radio channel or a music channel or a manager or a booking agency or a music producer? There are so many things around music, right? How do they become capable of working there? So I think the only way apart from education is experience, news, information. So we are trying to source all the information through multiple resources, through Music Plus on an everyday basis, where we talk about the national, international news, the international news, how it is relevant to India and all those stuffs. And All About Music brings in all the experts and top stories and success stories and failure stories, everything together. So I think it will give much more access, and it will make that journey of learning a little easier for the music buff. So that was the whole idea.
Great. So are you still hungry? Does capacity worry you? Bandwidth worry you?
It does worry me. In fact, it worries me on everyday basis. That because see, I am not a management graduate. Everything I've learned on the go. And I was very fortunate that when I was I was studying BCom, I was running a coaching institute at that time. I was also used to ramp. I used to also do anchoring and run some events at that time. So I'm used to doing 5 things at a time. So there was a consultant from Bombay, Mr. Hiten Patel, who used to consult that businessman who had funded our institute. And he was the first person I met who actually taught me what management meant. And whatever lessons he had taught me since then, I'm using only those throughout my career. I remember he used to write a line at the end of every email, feel free to get in touch. I still use that line throughout my life. I mean, I have not changed that line because I felt that's really simple and comfortable for people to say. So even if I message somebody today or write something, I always say at the end the same line. So there are small things which I have learned from him about consumer behavior. He always used to tell me that you are not a teacher, you're a marketing guy. And I always used to fight with him, no, I'm not a marketing guy, I'm a teacher as well. He said, you're a good teacher, I'm not debating, but your career is not meant to be in teaching. And just imagine, I was in college and I was running a coaching institute. I used to teach. I had about 100 students. I was doing good. But he always used to keep telling me that that's not your life.
You had this institute when you were in college?
Yeah.
This was in
2002,
Guwahati.
yeah.
In Guwahati.
So it's very funny. Whatever opportunities came to me, I did not think too much about it. So I did a ramp show. And the lady, the mother of my partner, Prachi, who happens to be my sister now, she told me that, she had a coaching institute and she wanted me to come and teach at her institute. So when I was teaching students at my home, I said, listen, I am not interested in teaching in any institute. If you have a business proposal, let me know. Because I have to make my career. I am the youngest son of the family and my family is not doing well. I have to make money. And my family tradition is that everybody passes metric and they get into a job. So my eldest brother got into a job. The second brother got into a job. The third brother was with me. He had to kind of get into a job. And I was not wanting to do that. It's not that my family was completely not capable of doing it, but it was that, it was not the best times of our life. And when I passed class metric, that's what we call, I was a school topper. And my family actually did not know how to react to it. It was like, it's fine, right? You topped in school, it's okay. And that is the time when I we decided that I will start working to make sure that I am not a pressure on my family.
Yes, so I'm going to roll back actually. It was really interesting, the little facts you're throwing. Born and spent first, 8 or 9 years in Haryana,
yeah.
Right? So how come the move to Guwahati?
Okay.
And tell us about the real life, the challenges, things that kind of motivated you. I know you as an extremely courageous guy. In fact, I think you thrive on challenges. So I want to understand, I want for our listeners and viewers to understand that bit about you.
I'll try to be short because the story is too long. Haryana, my father was struggling to get some job somewhere. So we were 4 brothers with my mom and dadi. We used to stay in a 100 square feet house. I remember we didn't used to have toilet at our home, so which our Prime Minister is fighting for now, Ghar Ghar Mein Shauchalaya. So we used to go about half a kilometer far to do our daily routines. So my father was struggling, and somehow after going to multiple places in the country, he got a hope in Guwahati, Assam, and he got his business kind of set. That's the reason we moved back to Assam, and I was like 9 years old exactly, 92.
And what did you do in Guwahati?
So it was a new world for me. I did not understand a shit. I mean, anything. Language was new, people were new. Suddenly, from being a local, you are an immigrant. So that's a complicated feeling. But from my childhood, I have not really been very stressed person. I mean, I think I'm lucky that stress is not something which generally comes to me. It comes to me, but not on an everyday basis. It's not on like if my coffee is not right, I'll be stressed. It's not like that. There has to be something serious.
Are you subtly telling me the coffee is not right?
I'm just telling you that's what came to mind. So I came, I was enjoying, and I was too young, right? I was enjoying, I did not know anything about English. So my school education has not been nursery, KG and 1. I studied in Aryavarishth Madhyamik Vidyalaya in Haryana, where the classes used to be Pehli, Pakki and Dusri. So that was our name of the classes. And I studied till class 4 in Haryana. I had no clue about what English is, or I knew there is a language called English, but we didn't even study ABCD there. So when we went to Guwahati, obviously northeastern states are better in terms of education, and most of the schools were English. So I didn't have any option but to join a government school. Now in Assam, where will you find a Hindi school? Like, even if there is a Hindi school, who would study in that Hindi school? Like, people from Hindi states. So all the guys from Bihar, UP, majorly who are workers in Assam, their kids used to study in that school. So I was also studying at that school for class 5, 6 and 7, 3 years. And so I remember that when I passed class 7, I realized that English is very important. And till class 7 we used to have Baba Black Sheep and all those poems. So I would not know most of the poetries which you would know, because I haven't studied them. So I had that urge that I have to study English. Somehow you have to know this language because it's very important. So I fought with everybody and I wanted to get admitted to an English school. And I remember one of the teachers used to come to teach us at home. So he set us up in an English school called Happy Child English High School, and I went to appear for the test. And there was 2 tests, maths and science. So maths was fine, it's all numbers, right? Whether it is in English or
1 plus 1 is equal to 25. That you followed in life.
But English was really, really bad. I remember the sentence was write an essay on zoo. And I wrote like 5 words, animals, whatever I knew, birds. I could not even complete a sentence, and I failed, obviously. And when I failed, I had to take admission in one of the not too popular school there, and I was admitted in class 7 again. So the journey started from there, and at that time English was the most important thing. I had to speak English, come what may. So there was a time when I used to speak in English with everybody, whoever you are. You are rickshawala, you're my friend, you're my mom, dad, everybody. And I was really bad at it, which does not mean I'm good at it now, but I kind of manage it. But I was really bad at it. And from that, whatever came my way, like, so somebody told me that एक गौशाला मेला होता है गुवाहाटी में, let's put up a stall there. So I said, okay. So we put up a pav bhaji and cold drink stall there, and I remember me and my friend, we used to make those thumbs up, masala thumbs up, and got this done. Then one guy told me that, listen, there is a place called Nagaon near Guwahati. We can bring firecrackers from there during Diwali, and we can sell it at our home. So I used to get those firecrackers and sell it at home. Somebody suggested me to sell encyclopedia. I remember there used to be a encyclopedia book. You used to get trained what to speak, and you used to go door to door, and you would get about 100 rupees per book, and tie and this and that. So
early days of entrepreneurship.
And I'll be very honest and candid with you, but I have never found a problem in that. It's not that I did it because I was like majboor, bechara, besahara and all that, melodramatic lines. There was nothing like it. I really enjoyed working. So my best friend used to have an electrical shop, and they used to sell wires, okay? And he was wanting to help his father, and he was wanting to kind of grow his business. So I used to go with him to sell wires to different contractors as well, to explain how this particular wire is much better than. I remember Havells came at that time, and I used to sell that as well. Then I also sold aluminium fabrication, like that was a new thing. There used to be all wooden windows, and aluminium windows were a new thing. I'm talking about 2000 in Guwahati. So I used to go to all the construction sites and try to sell them the aluminium fabrication window and get a commission out of it. So I've done whatever it came.
So you were a real person. I mean, there was nothing that wasn't doable. You enjoyed being yourself. You enjoyed doing what you enjoyed doing, and you grew in that process. Now, one of the things that I find really fascinating is you're very real. Every conversation with you is real. And one of the conversations we've had in the past that really grabbed my attention for all the right reasons was your family, your love for family, your love for people, your love for friends and friendship. Tell us a little bit about that, about your family life, about your friends around
let
you.
me just first decide whether how real can I be with in this. So it all changes. Currently I'm a different man than what I was earlier. So from my childhood I have been very loved by the family, although whatever we had, but people really loved me because I was a non-complaining boy. I was enjoying my whole life. Before I got married, my family got bankrupt, and there was a time when it was a difficult decision to take. So I kind of decided to stay in Guwahati when my family got bankrupt. And my entire family fled from Guwahati to Greater Noida. That there was a decision to be taken. I stayed there because I thought people know me as an anchor, as a model, as a teacher, as an event manager there. I will still survive. I don't want to go to a new place and kind of struggle there. And that's the time I took some loan and make the family go and continued my thing. And I was all alone. So I have enjoyed all the fruits of being alone, being a bachelor. And when you're struggling, you have frustration. I was not sure whether I'll get married or not, ever. Nobody was sure. In fact, when I told my wife that, listen, we are getting married, and I remember I messaged my best friends and their wives saying that, listen, I've decided to get married. And they never responded because they thought it was fake. Because
Tarsame, getting married?
It's not possible.
No.
In fact, they called my wife and said, is it serious? So that time, I became too serious. Now somebody who was not serious at all. Most of the people who know me don't believe that I can be this serious person who is taking care of family like this. And so my thing is that either you don't do it or do it nicely. So if you have decided to get married, you should be rightful, you should be loyal, you should give time. If you have not, it's your choice, right? Nobody forced you to get married. So from the time I got married, my wife became one of the most important person in my life. And I feel that a man who doesn't respect his woman is not a man for me. You have to respect your woman. My life's biggest problem is that I like to teach and train my wife as much as I can. And finally, when TLII happened, my daughter happened 2011, I don't remember I've cried more than that any day. And I don't know, I mean, it's a feeling, being a father and giving life to somebody. It's a different feeling. So I realized that, listen, boss, this is it. So I met that guru. He was in Guwahati, and I asked him, he asked me actually that, what's wrong with you? I said, I have a serious problem. He said, what's the problem? I said, I want to do something, but my partner is stopping me from this. He doesn't understand this side of me. We've struggled together, whatever we've achieved, this and that. He said, yeah, that's a problem with everybody in life. Tell me something new. So he was not giving me importance at all. I was feeling really bad. He said, okay, I'll solve your thing. Tell me, what do you want to achieve in life? What is the most important thing you want to do in life? I said, I want to show the world how capable I am. He said, that's ego. Tell me what you really want to do and achieve. I said, I want to do more. I said, that's again ego. You don't have a constructive or clear plan. So he said, I'll help you. Just imagine you have 24 hours to die, how would you live your next 24 hours? Let's be clear. He said, think about it. Don't be in a hurry. Me and my wife was there. So I thought about it. I said, okay, I will first try to secure my family and inform them that this is the money I have, this property I have, or these are the people who I feel you can take money from, and these people won't give you, or blah blah blah, whatever it is, and these are my liabilities. He said, okay, you think you got about 6 hours to do that. What is the next thing you'll do? I said, I will try to help people who have helped me in my life, or people who are need of help who are around me. Okay, another 4 hours. You still have 14 hours. I said, then I'll apologize to everybody who I feel I have a tussle or something has gone wrong. I said, okay, another 3-4 hours. Then what? I said, then I'll spend time with my closest friends and family. So he said, yeah, that's what you want to do in life, and that's what you should do in life. So you should start securing your family from today. You don't have to wait till you die, right? 24 hours back. You start apologizing to people today. You start helping everybody who has helped you or who needs your help, and just spend time with the family and friends. That's your life's goal. That's the meaning of your life, and it's like blown me away. And I realized that that's so true.
That's really beautiful. We've had a lot of wonderful conversations, and in one of the conversations, we were quoting people in our lives. I was quoting my father, and you had a really interesting quote about happiness. I think you mentioned you got it from an old film.
I got it from a film called Bawarchi. So it says that it is extremely simple to be happy, but it is very difficult to be simple.
I've held on to that.
Yeah.
So I suppose life's quest also has to include, how do we find different ways of just being simple? And I don't know if simple equates to being real, because in that case, you're doing a great job. I remember we were chatting about a few other quotes that I remember my father would often say.
I still remember that quote. I in fact told it to Megha yesterday that is the best thing. I've translated it to Hindi as well.
You have?
Yeah, just for my knowledge, because I don't think in English.
Yeah, my father said to me, and then you can say it in Hindi. My father always said to me, be good to the people you meet on the way up for every reason. But most importantly, remember, they'll be the same people you'll meet on the way down.
Correct. So ऊपर जाते हुए जिनसे भी आप मिलो, उनसे अच्छा बर्ताव करो, क्योंकि वही लोग आपको उतरते हुए मिलेंगे.
Absolutely right.
So
absolutely right. And it's about being positive. That's another thing I find about you, is that you are generally extremely positive. And having said that, you're also extremely clear. So if there is, and I want to ask you this, if there is something that supposedly threatens to get in the way, it doesn't intimidate you. It doesn't stop you. And
No.
I figured that out.
Not really.
And it doesn't come from, bravado and all of that. You're just exceedingly committed and focused about doing what you want to do. And in that process, you will take on anything that gets in the way. And I find that an extremely good approach to life.
Thank you for saying that. Honestly, I feel it comes from your background and experiences about life. Being an event manager and artist manager especially, you are fortunate to interact with hundreds and thousands of people. You interact with your vendors, you interact with your security agency guy, your watchman, and I love talking. I mean, I talk to everybody. If I sit in an Uber, I talk to the Uber driver. That's the reason I don't have a car now, because I love talking to them. I talk to the rickshaw driver, I talk to the fruit wala guy. I love talking and getting their experiences about life. So I have had discussions with the chief ministers, prime ministers, bureaucrats, businessmen, top businessmen, emerging businessmen, different kinds of people around the world. I've realized one thing very clearly, that there is no connection of happiness with success. There is no connection. And success to different people means different.
Absolutely.
Okay. When I came to Bombay, and I'm telling you, I used to meet people and I used to feel that why are they complaining about life? this man owns a 1 BHK home.
Yeah.
That was my thinking, and I'm serious about it, that if you own a 1 BHK, your 1 BHK is about 40 lakh rupees. You are not a poor guy. I mean, why are you crying? I should cry. I don't have anything. I don't even have the flat. But the truth is, I was not right at that time. I mean, that was my thinking. And so, if you are that person who thinks like that, you cannot be unhappy. If you start thinking what you don't have, you're unhappy. Yeah. Correct? So, I mean, I thought at that time that if you really want to solve your life's problem, stop discussing about it. Because if you keep discussing your problems with people, it doesn't help. You have to realize that nobody in the world, and I say that to a lot of people, a few things which you have to realize, that everybody says they don't like people who judges the other person. But every single human being in this world judges every other human being every single second of life. Right now we are talking to each other. While I'm talking, you might be thinking about me something. There has to you have to judge. Now, whether it is a positive judgment or a negative judgment, that is a different thing. But people judge you. Like, people will, and nobody is bothered about what's going on in life. If you are wanting to work with somebody, that person should work with you not because he will feel you a bechara.
Right.
Because you deserve it. So if you are good at your job, people will work with you, and situations and things will change. It might take time. It might take 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, but it will change for sure. But if you want to play that card of being a bechara and that difficulty, it doesn't work. I don't think it works. So I think from that time onwards, I kind of never played that card, or never wanted to say that, I am a bechara.
Well, that's great to hear, because like you said, like you rightly said, I think the more you feel sorry for yourself, the bigger disservice you are doing to yourself. Yeah. Now, you spend many hours in the day working really hard. You enjoy your work. You're passionate about what you do. And so there's never a day at work. We've had those chats before as well. Shiny, happy person, bring it on, aane do, as they say, no problem. I love what I do. I'm sure you take time off as well, TM. And when you take time off, what are the things that kind of keep you busy? I know you did mention you spend time with family, especially daughter and wife. But, are there any other, how should I say, passions that occupy,
So I love to sleep.
Oh, you do?
You ask anybody that what is my favorite pastime, I like to sleep. Because, I am the most boring traveler. I have been, I've traveled to more than 300 destinations in the world, including more than 50 to 70 in India. Out of those 300, 290 destinations, my memories are hotel, airport and venue. So I land at the airport, go to the hotel, from the hotel, go to the venue, come back to the hotel, come to the airport and back. And if I got, like, for example, there is a day off and everybody is planning to, visit the city, I just don't go anywhere. I just sleep, Because earlier when we started, we didn't used to get time to sleep. There was so much of sleep left in me. I don't know how it sounds like.
And you're still like that, huh?
I'm still like that. I'm still like that because on an every day, my sleep is not perfect. So, for example, I landed from Atlanta, right? Day before yesterday. So, I landed at 3:34. By the time I reached home, got my daughter. I promised her that she will sleep with us that day. So I slept at, let's assume, 7 o'clock in the morning. I slept till 1 p.m. I woke up, I ate. I slept again at 2:30 and I woke up at 10 p.m. It's like 2 days back. I just slept the full day because that's kind of a rejuvenation for me.
Sure it is.
So on an average, every 1 month, there is one day where I sleep like this. I switch off my phone. I don't look at the time, what time it is. I specifically tell everybody, don't tell me what time it is. I will wake up when I feel like,
That's great. That's great. I think that's fantastic. Don't let the world dictate what you should be doing all the time.
We deserve that much of
I think so too. I think so. You're so much of a music person. Do you spend any time outside of the workspace? Do you spend any time indulging in music, listening to music?
So I do listen to music and different kinds of music, right from folk to jazz to Western. I don't care. Whatever I like, I listen to the music. But yes, I want to start playing as well for myself. In fact, my wife gifted me a guitar last year on my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Which I've played for 3 times till now. So
make it 33 times at least this year.
I have to. I recently wrote that what I have to do in the next 1 year, and I'm not doing any of those. So
time to make it happen.
Yeah.
Time to make it happen.
I have to make it happen.
Now, we spoke about happiness briefly, about how simple it is to be happy, but how difficult it is to be simple. You seem like a happy person, or well on your way to complete happiness. I know happiness is a state of mind.
Correct.
Happy space?
I am happy. See, even if I have complaints, those are bullshit complaints. And I feel that every human being in this planet knows the truth about himself or herself. A lot of times, most of the times they lie to the outside world, but a lot of times they lie to themselves as well. So for example, if you are wanting to finish a project for last 15 days and you are not able to do it, a lot of times it's not that you didn't have time to do it. Okay, you kind of convince yourself not to do it, and you kind of keep convincing yourself that, listen, this is the reason I couldn't do it, and you actually know the reason. You actually know why didn't you do it.
You're lying to yourself.
You're lying to yourself. Now, even if I have complaints, so what do a person need in life? You need a family which loves you. I have that family which loves me. You need friends who loves you, or you love them. I have those friends. You need decent money so that you can meet your ends. We have decent money which we can meet our ends. I don't think there is anything else you should be worried about. So I am a happy person, and there is no reason I should not be happy. I feel I'm blessed. And I should mention this, that if I start naming people who have done favors on me, directly, indirectly, knowingly, unknowingly, we'll have to continue this show for like a week. Okay. Because I have been really lucky that whenever I've started doing something, for example, I remember the first few people I spoke about this was Vijay Nair and Sabas Joseph. And I always realized what is their reason to do something for the conference. When I met you, we met for an event, like a general conversation, and I told you about it. You said that, man, I will be there. You don't worry about it. I'm there for you. And I was thinking that for some time, that do I really deserve this? Somebody is believing in the project. It's not just in the project, it's a belief in me as well. I mean, he is giving me this respect. I have to deserve that respect. I should make sure that that person feels really good when he helps me. But I'm saying it's fortunate, right? I mean, if you look at the conference, it doesn't look like my conference. Right. It is not my conference. It is everybody's conference, and everybody's being there for the cause of the industry, and everybody is working there like it is their own.
There's a goodness that you emanate, and I'm saying this unabashedly, TM. There's a goodness that you emanate, and it's said when you exude a good vibe, you attract good vibrations right back at you. And I'd like to believe
Can I record this part and show it to my wife?
Of course you can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And can I record the bit you said about me and show it to mine as well?
Sure.
Look, we have common objectives, common challenges. So we need to help each other.
We can actually do a weekly, ritual where I speak to your wife for 2 minutes and you speak to mine, where we have to praise each other.
Absolutely. Done
Nothing
deal.
else.
Done deal.
Yeah, okay.
Done deal, TM. Now we're talking. But, honestly, on a serious note, I was serious about the wives as well.
Okay.
But on an even more serious note, thank you firstly for having this chat on Tell Us Like It Is. As all our chats, it's been really cool. It's been really heartfelt. It's been warm. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, your life story pretty much. Having said that, I'm sure there's one thing that you feel very passionately about. You are a passionate person. And there is something that you feel really strongly about that you want to share with people around you, with the world around you, with people who will probably watch this episode of Tell Us Like It Is. That one thing that you feel strongly about. Would you like to share it with us?
Okay, the most important thing for me, honestly, this is a question which I have actually been asking myself, and I got the answer just a few months back. That what is that thing which drives me? I mean, is it money? Is it fame? Is it anything else which drives me? And I realized what drives me is people. And I was thinking one day that there are 1.3 billion people in this country, and every successful person, when I say successful, even if you are running a small shop with 3 employees and making money for you and your family, you are a successful person. So if every successful person makes sure that the people who are working with him and around him are taken care of, I think there will be no problem in this world. There will be no education problem, there will be no health problem, there will be no scarcity of money, people would not be poor. Nothing will happen if just people start taking care of other people. And I feel that is something which drives me. I feel really happy if there are 70 people working with me, and I am able to kind of being in the center, the reason for that business which is running. And there are more and more people getting connected, and they can earn bread for their family. And I think it is very important for all of us to take care of people who makes us what we are. I mean, that's what I was like to say.
Thank you very much, TM. Beautiful people, beautiful lives, beautiful stories. You do and will continue to hear and see such wonderful stories on Tell Us Like It Is. Thanks very much. Until the next time.